Hey, so I just got back from the jiu-jitsu gym. I have some stuff on Facebook I posted today asking people about what do you think some of the greatest struggles people are facing personally right now. And one of the answers that somebody gave, one of the comments was really good. And they talked about comparison. Comparison on social media about how good a parent somebody is or how rich somebody is or how successful somebody else is. And people get this idea and they start comparing, their beginning to someone else's end or somebody else's middle. Like, I literally just got back from an hour and a half of rolling around with two guys. One's a brown belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and the other is a black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. All right, and I just got back into this a few weeks ago. And I can hold my own pretty good, but you know what? Both those guys could totally take me. And it's important you don't get so discouraged when you're in the beginning. I can't compare my few weeks of being back into this thing since being in the Army 10 years ago. I can't compare where I'm at to where these guys are, and they've been doing it like 4 days a week for the past 20 years, 3-4 days a week for the past 20 years. I can't dare compare where I'm at to where they are. I can't feel bad about the fact that they're further along than me. I could walk out of there and feel beat up and say, man, those guys, they just totally took me, and I'm just a piece of crap and all this other stuff. But you can't do that. You can't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or end. All right, people are at a different areas of life. They're at different levels. In fact, you might be at a beginning level where a lot of people are more advanced, but you probably have something where you're more advanced than somebody else. These guys might be great in jiu-jitsu. I mean, they're obviously good in jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying maybe they are. But I know me, I've been speaking and writing books for 10 years. I could probably teach them a thing or two with what I know when it comes to speaking or when it comes to branding a business, because I've branded multiple companies and organizations of my own, and I've helped other people do it in big and small companies. All right, so don't ever look at one area where you think you're weak and just feel like a turd. Don't just feel like a piece of crap because somebody's better than you at something. There's always going to be somebody better than you at something. All right, but you got to realize you've got something too. You got something to offer. You're good at something where the people you're comparing yourself to, they might be good at one thing, but you're great at another. All right, and if they can teach you a thing or two, these guys are teaching me jiu-jitsu, well, you know what? I could teach them a thing or two if they wanted to get into public speaking or to grow their businesses with their brands and whatnot. I could totally come in there because everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. Nobody's a completely well-rounded person. Some people can get real close, but nobody's an expert in everything. And that's why we all need each other. That's why it's important that we create communities together, because we're stronger together than we are individually. And so if you're ever feeling like you're comparing yourself to people on Facebook or social media, look, you're comparing your beginning or maybe somewhere you're just not that strong to someone else's one thing, like their strength. There's a great book out there by Gary Keller called The One Thing, and he talks about doing your one thing, finding your one thing that you're just freaking amazing at and doing that thing. And that's the man who built, I think it's the largest real estate company, at least in America, maybe the world. It's Keller Williams Realty. It's the guy who founded it. He built that thing. He created it. But over the years, he was able to find his one thing and then get other people to make up for his weaknesses and just go back and forth with it. So always realize that people tend to put their best foot forward, as they should, in every area, but especially on social media. I mean, some things look great. People put out a great picture, a great image, but inside, if you look at their life, they're just falling apart. And by the way, I'll even mention this. I've had people tell me, Brian, your life must be so great. Look, I can't complain, but I'll be honest with you. The other day, I really started to come to a breaking point. And for the first time ever, I should probably be more transparent more often, but for the first time ever, the other day, about 3 days ago, I put something on Facebook and said, hey, I'm really struggling with some things, kind of at my rope's end with a few things. Please pray for me when you think of it. I'm not the kind of guy who ever makes things public and asks for pity or for anything. So that's really difficult for me to do. But you know what? The 2 to 3 days following that, all of you who follow what I do, there was over like 300 likes on that and like over 150 comments. You all swarmed my Facebook post and you said, hey, I'm praying for you. You're going to make it. And I'm not really the kind of guy who wants a pep talk. I'm more the guy who's kind of like, You know, if somebody's saying, "Hey Brian, keep going, you can do it," my first instinct is to tell you to shut up. Like, I know I can do it. I don't want you trying to pep talk. I don't need that. And that's just something inside me. I would never say that to you if you're being nice, but that's kind of my thought process, because I know I can do it. And it's just a hard-headed mentality of mine, but it was so great. I didn't expect anything out of it. I wasn't looking for pity, but I just wanted to be real with people, and I was really struggling. And you never know, somebody might have an answer. And I'm never above anything. I'm not above anybody. I'm just, when it comes to certain skill sets and a different phase of life, I might be further along than you. But you know, you're also likely further along than me in a certain area. I know these two guys I trained and rolled with for an hour and a half tonight. One's a brown belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the other's a black belt. Like, these guys are totally beyond me. And it's the best thing I could do is I could learn from blue belts and purple belts and other people who are a little more advanced. But if you really, really want to kick yourself into high gear in some certain area of your life where you're struggling, get around the quote-unquote brown and black belts in that arena. Maybe it's your marriage. I mean, the people who are amazing at that thing. If you're struggling in your marriage, stop struggling. Just get around people who do marriage well. If you're struggling financially, get around people who, they have money a lot more than you do. You know, there's this divide that people feel between people who are rich and poor. And a lot of people have this idea, and I used to also. A lot of people have this idea that the rich separate themselves from the poor and won't give them the time of day. But honestly, in my experience, the truth of the matter is this. A lot of times people who are more in the middle class or poor category, or they would classify themselves there, a lot of times they're more intimidated to be around people who look successful because they do have a lot of money, that they'll never approach the people. Whereas if they would approach the people, the person who has a lot of money is generally pretty happy to open their arms and help in any way they can, if they can teach you something or make a connection for you. I mean, there are jerks who are rich and there are jerks who are poor, but in my experience, I've been very blessed. Some of the richest people I know, that I'm blessed to know, are some of the most generous people I've ever met. So don't ever cut yourself off from the lifeline that could save you in your situation. All right? So get around the brown belts and the black belts in whatever area that you're struggling in, and don't ever compare your beginning to their 20 years of experience or more that they've been doing this thing. Learn from them, and you know what? Again, you might just be able to reciprocate and teach them something. All right, so don't compare yourself. It's pointless. It's a game in your own head, and it only destroys you. So get out there, learn some stuff, get around some good people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. God, I had so many stupid things I wouldn't have done if I would have just asked for help. I could have saved so much money and pain. I just ask now, and I encourage you, ask other people to help you be better. And it's amazing the doors that'll just swing wide open there. I'll end with this. Other people will easily swing doors open for you that you could not kick down on your own.